how to pass all of your ACCA exams first time with no accounting degree. I'm delighted to be joined by someone today who has done that actual journey and is going to walk and talk us through on the channel for the first time, his debut, ladies and gentlemen. Moish, feel free to introduce yourself, my friend.
Hi, thank you, James. My name is Moish Schmitz. I'm a chartered accountant. I did pass all of my 13 or 15 ACCA examinations the first time. Right now I work in practice. I've also opened a recent Instagram page where I make some cute reels about accounting and tax tips. And yeah, I've been brought on today just to give some advice if I can and help out some of the students, some of the viewers of James' channel.
Oh, fantastic. Well, all of Moish's details are in the description of this video. Check them out, guys. But we're going to get straight into it right now. So Moish, kick us off. What are the first things that come to your mind to help pass every ACCA exam first time?
Okay, so I would say, it may sound strange, but it's not condescending. I would say you have to look at the exams as if it's a game. Now, that's not in a condescending way. It's a pragmatic way.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way you get better at FIFA or you get better at Fortnite and you get better, playing football in the park, it's exactly the same way when it comes to the exam. When you come to in the exam room and the exam starts, you don't want to be in a situation where you feel tense, you feel the pressure. You want to be in a situation where you're like, you know what? I've done this many times before. This is exactly the same as the mock I had yesterday and the mock I done the day before and the mock I done the day before that. It's exactly the same. That's it. That's it. The same. The reason I bring the metaphor of a sport is because to take a penalty in a World Cup final, you've got 90,000 people in the stadium, you've got a couple million people at home watching, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of pressure. How do the players, get over that? It's just because day in, day out, when they're training, they're just practicing, putting the ball down, taking penalty kicks. So when it comes to the real deal, I've done this many times before, and it's just in their nature. So one thing I want to stress is that you want to be in a position that when the exam starts in the exam room on the real day, no pressure, very little pressure. You've done this many times before. And I think in a crux, that's my message today.
Fantastic. Yeah. But then it's the big question of how do you get to that stage where you rock up on ACCA exam day and you feel no pressure? Because I probably, like myself, you've been there, sleepless night, worrying about it. How did you best prepare for your examinations?
Right. So I think, James, what I would do is I would look backwards from the exam date. So instead of saying, I've got 6 weeks to the exam, let me read the material, watch some courses, then do the revision course, move on to questions, mocks, go to the exam. What I would say is that, I want to be really, really prepared on the exam day. Therefore, I studied with BPP. They gave 4 mock exams, in their booklet. 4 mocks, I'll do a mock a day the last 4 days before the exam. And the reason being, because on the exam day, that's just the 5th day of another mock exam. I've done it 4 days before. And so the 4 days before the exam day, I'll be doing 1 mock a day. Right. There'll be other things I'll do that day, which I'll touch on in a minute.
Yeah.
And then the couple days before that, the 3 days before that, would be question practice. Okay. And that's your 7 days before the exam, which is crucial. I truly believe if you put your head down 7 days before any of the ACCA exams, taking into the fact that you have study leave from work, if you can put in 7-8 hours a day, the 7 days before the exam, you should be able to pass it. Anything before those 7 days, it's up to you. If you want to watch YouTube videos, if you want to watch your courses lectures, if you want to read the syllabus, if you want to take notes, you could do that. But to get into that position on exam day that you've been there before, you need to focus on the 7 days before. And I would say the last 4 days is a mock a day. And we can talk about that in a second, what a mock actually means. And then 3 days before that is just question practice.
Yeah, I love that. It's just the focus, isn't it? Where it's just, this is it. We've only got 4 chances a year. And, if you fail to prepare on these sort of things, prepare to fail, where you want to be put into that situation, the CBE platform, how to structure your answers, the different exams. Some may need pro formas, some are more sort of wordy narrative based on there. But in terms of, you touched on it there, preparing for a mock, why are they so important? Why do you emphasize them so much from your experience?
Okay, so what I see with students is that they look at mocks in their exam booklet, not the exam booklet, in the course material they get from their provider. They look at the mocks as if it's just a bunch of the question practice questions. usually you have the first part of the book is the question practice,
Yeah.
second half or the end is the mocks. People seem to think it's the same thing. It's actually not the same thing. The question practice is meant to be done in the morning, in the afternoon, when you're revising. The mocks are a complete different ballgame. The mocks need to be a situation where you're literally doing an exam yourself.
Yeah.
That's why it's called a mock. It's a mock of the real exam. So what I would do throughout all my 13 exams is that when I would get to those 4 days before my exam and I was doing a mock a day, I'd literally replicate everything possible that I'm literally in the exam room. And that that means going into a room by yourself, closing the door, no one can disturb you. This means, putting your phone away. Actually, I wouldn't put my phone away. My phone would be on Do Not Disturb, and I'd have the 3-hour countdown, whatever the minute, whatever the time for that exam is. I'd have that, in my face, because, in the exam, you would have that countdown clock, a pen, a paper, a calculator, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe some water. That's
maybe, some water you are allowed, although you can't have stickers in the bottle or something. But and then you just head down. I'd usually I've done my exams at the 9 a.m. start in the morning. I think it's 9:30 or 9 a.m. And I'd replicate that. So I'd do it at 9 a.m. till 1:30, however long the exam is. Head down, no looking at the answers. If you don't understand something, that's it. You're in the exam. Nothing you could do about it. Particular time, particular attention to how long you're spending on each question, and if you run out of time, you move on, you go back to it later if you can. You don't keep on that. All the things you were doing in the exam, you do in the mocks. What's the point? The point is that when you get to the exam day, you've done it before. Yes, there may be other people in the room, but you sit there. They read out the rules. You ask for your earplugs. You put in the earplugs. Head down.
Focus.
Your mind gets used to it, because if you go into an exam at 9:30 and the 3 days before that, the 4 days before that, you've done an exam at 9:30, it just helps you so much. And this is the reason why I say 4 days, 4 mocks. Why don't I say, hey, maybe go online and try and find another mock and do a mock in the afternoon? Because your brain is limited and you can only it takes a lot. People, students would know once you go out of an exam, you are drained. It takes a lot to concentrate, deep concentration for 3.5 hours. You can't do more than you could do another mock a day. It won't be as advantageous. You want to do 1 mock a day at the same time, head down, and then mark it properly afterwards. But we'll get onto that maybe soon.
Yeah, definitely on that. And you touched on there the marking and the review process. That is almost just as beneficial of doing the mock 2 times under those exam conditions, because then you're looking at your answers and then going, right, this is what I used to do when I was an ACCA student. I was saying, right, I am now an ACCA marker. Would I give myself the marks for these calculations and the descriptions, the narrative at the bottom on there? So how did you go through the marking process? How did you build it up when you were reviewing the answers and the mark scheme?
Yes, it's a great question. My number 1 rule is take a break between when you finish your mock exams when you start marking it. Because a lot of times we have the tendency, straight as we finish the exam, oh, did I get that right? Did I do that right? And we flip to the back. Oh yeah, it looks briefly okay. Oh, I missed that one. Oh, I got the wrong end of the stick on that question, etc., etc. Why we always do, which another thing we can talk about is always take breaks during these days before the exam. Don't get burnt out. I'd usually wait about an hour and a half. So I do my 3.5 hours in the morning, take a lunch break, an hour and a half out the room, try go outside if you can, eat something, drink something, come back with a fresh mind, and now say, okay, this is what I've written in my 3.5 hours as answers. Let me flip to the back of the book where they give me the answers, but more importantly, they show me how, which points get the marks, and then go through it one by one. And it's always beneficial to be quite harsh on yourself, quite strict on yourself.
Definitely.
Be fair, as most markers will be fair to you, hopefully. Be fair, but be conscious and go through it. And hopefully you'll come out with a 55, with a 60, with a 65, hopefully. But if you are fair, and you know in your heart that you are fair, and you've done that 4 days in a row for the 4 days before the exam, when you do the exam, when you come out of the exam, you think the examiner will be fair as well, because we're fair people. If you gave yourself an average of 60 the 4 days before the exam, the chances are you'll get a 60 in the mock. And I've found that in all my 13 exams, I don't even think once where I've been shocked. Wow, I thought I'd get 10% more, 10% less. It's largely what I thought I would get, and that's simply because learn the art of marking yourself. Honestly, that's what I would say.
Wicked, absolutely brilliant advice on there, and also just allocating the time and being disciplined to do it as well is just another factor involved on there. But touching on the 13 exams, are there any sort of mistakes that come to your mind, or you think to yourself, oh, I wish I'd have done that better maybe when you were starting out, whether maybe you spent too much time on tuition, or maybe you didn't look at technical articles enough or examiners reports? What sort of springs to mind of like lessons you've learned?
Right. Okay, so you have, case specific. Each exam has its difficult parts and has its easy marks. Audit, a big one is people misunderstand the question and they go on a ramble with the answer. And often it's quite late before they realize, if they do realize, that maybe that wasn't what the examiner was asking. You have also some exams where the syllabus is fine, but then you get stuck on some topics. Okay. Often, if that topic is going to be a section C big question, there's no choice. You have to get it. You have to understand it. You have to work really, really hard to get it. And that comes a lot through question practice and looking at the answers. But oftentimes I've had where there's some things you just don't get, or you're a couple of days out before the exam, you hit an exam question and you're like, I don't remember learning this. And it's almost like you have no time to now learn that extra material. And you have to take a judgment. If it's going to be a 4-mark question on the exam, it's probably not worth spending that much time to it because you're so close to the exam. What I would say is try get 1 or 2 of those marks.
100%.
But you might not want to aim to understand the topic completely. There's other things to focus on because you've often heard this metaphor. Like, this is the same reason why they say to move on to the next question, even though you have more to write about the other question, is because your first 10-15 minutes on the question is where you get most of your marks. Those last few minutes when you're adding lines, you might be going to get half a mark here, mark here. But when you run out of time in an exam, you've got a whole question to complete. Potentially the first 5 or 10 marks on that question, you would have gone quite easily. But trying to get that 1 extra mark from the question before, not worth it. Another thing I would say is during the first exams that I did, I spent a lot more time on actually reading the syllabus and then writing notes, highlighting, reading it again, and only then I move on to question practice. And one thing I would say, and I learned over 13 exams, is the quicker you get to question practice, the easier it'll be for you, because you could read the syllabus 3-4 times, and then you come to question practice and you can just hit a hard wall. And that's just simply because syllabus is syllabus, it's text. There's nothing like getting your brain to work something out and recall. It's the power of recalling. I'd always, towards the end, I'd barely, the syllabus is massive. I'd barely read through everything, and most of my success came from exam.
Yeah, exactly. And even just a bit of advice for somebody who's starting off on management accounting, financial accounting, that base knowledge on those exams, financial accounting, then moves on to financial reporting, then leads on to SBR, then leads on to advanced audit assurance. If you don't understand those fundamentals, and maybe you're new to the sector, absolutely imperative that you nail down that knowledge, because like you said, there are just some things, like in financial reporting, a balance sheet, statement of financial position, you're going to be tested on. I'm sorry, you can't qualify unless you can tell me what a balance sheet is on there. But Moish, is there anything else that springs to your mind that you've got to get on record that is going to help a student to pass all of their exams first time?
I would summarize it as that it's just a game between you and the examiner. They want you to pass, but there's rules, and you have to get your body used to the exam conditions. And as I said, just make sure those days before the exams are literally in the same conditions as the exam, so you have that confidence just to go through any other day, finish it, drink a Dr. Pepper, wait for your exam result.
Yeah. Oh, wicked. They're really good advice. And even just little things like treating yourself after you've done mock papers, that takes a heck of a lot of effort. I know some students that just say, oh, I really want a special treat or a chocolate bar, anything like that to give you that little edge to get, to push you on. Because there's always those days when you wake up in the morning and you go, I can't be bothered today. There's so many other easier things to do. But I really appreciate all the tips on here. And as I said, guys, I've put all the details in the description below. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any other future videos. And if you've got any questions for us, leave it below. We'd love to read them, and we'll definitely keep in touch. But Moish, thank you so much for your insights today, all of your time, and check out all of his reels and other bits on there, guys, as well. So yeah, go.
Well, one thing I'd say is that if a student, wants to ask me a question, just contact me on the Instagram, which James will link, and message me. I'm happy to answer. Just a tip here, a tip there, or to clarify what I meant in one, in this video, something like that. I'm really happy to. This is the reason I came on, just to help other students, because we want everyone to pass. We want everyone to get to their target as soon as possible.
Wicked. Oh, really, really nice. Well, on that bombshell, we'll call it a day on that. So best luck with your exam, guys, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.